What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You dead meat!
Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastards that did this, they're dead meat.
Hey, David, man. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. I'm
Very
James. This is
good.
Chelsea. Yeah.
Hi.
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 Yeah, we actually have a personal connection, which is really funny. Are you aware?
No, dude, tell me what the personal
Oh my
connection is.
gosh.
Oh, your sister is our lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We
okay.
talked on email. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's
that's
great.
super cool.
Yeah, we love
Hi.
her. We love her.
Yeah, my sister's I mean, I love my sister too. Yeah, she's you would never think that we're related if you met her and met me. You wouldn't necessarily connect us, but yeah, we're close. We're really close.
Yeah, a little bit of different styles,
Sure.
but it's so funny because she was like, she's been our lawyer for a while, and she was like, yeah, my brother makes movies, and they're often horror, and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. And then she was like, here, can I send you a trailer for his new movie? I was like, yeah, sure, send it over, I'll watch it. And I watched the trailer, I was like, oh, this looks fun as hell.
Yeah.
And it was for Locked. So not only did it look really fun and look really good, but obviously with the cast you got, Bill Skarsgård and Academy Award winning Anthony Hopkins, I was like, oh, okay, this is legit.
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, she's really it's nice of her to do that. Like it's cool. It's cool that she it's really sweet. It's really sweet.
Yeah, and then I hadn't realized that you also made Brightburn a few years back.
I made a movie called Brightburn.
Yeah, which
Yes.
we covered on the channel back when it came out, and that's a movie
Cool.
that I feel really resonated with a lot of people, a lot of younger viewers who were drawn to it just because of the evil Superman.
It's such an interesting movie, right? Because and I have such an interesting relationship with it because it came out like 2 weeks after Endgame. And so Endgame really sucked all the energy out of the room. And we were a little $6 million movie, really tiny movie. And we were coming out on Memorial Day weekend, the biggest opening weekend for movies, the biggest day of the year. And we came out only 3,000 screens or something. It was like, we're not that movie. So it was such a weird moment in time, and it's so hard, as a filmmaker, you're not connected to the story around the movie. You're just sort of, you have this limited perspective. Oftentimes people don't share with you their feelings around the movie because they don't want to feel like they're too complimentary or too negative,
Mm-hmm.
And so I often feel just completely in the dark about things. But over the last few years, it's suddenly I'm like, oh, people really like that movie and they've really connected to it and responded to it, which feels nice because that's what you hope when you make something like that,
Yeah, with both Brightburn and Locked, I feel like because you said Brightburn had a limited budget, I feel like both those movies feel bigger than they are, which is meant to be a compliment, because
Thank
Locked
you.
takes place almost entirely within a vehicle.
Yes,
but it never feels constricted.
I'm such a sucker for one location thriller horror movies. I love like 47 Meters Down or Fall, where it's like trap your main character in an impossible situation and watch them try to survive. I love that kind of mini genre.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, well, that's the genre we took on here, right, with this movie.
Yes.
And we try to do it in our own way, like our own sort of, there's conventions to that genre, to that subgenre. One of them is you're so restricted often when you're in this like contained tiny spot that oftentimes the cinematography is just, there's nothing all that exciting, right? And I really wanted this to break that and to be able to do really crazy things with the camera and make some really really cinematic moments. And I don't know, you'll have to judge, but I feel like we pulled off some crazy stuff.
I can tell we're both itching to jump on the exact same moment of the movie, so I'm going to get to it first. I'm going to beat you to it. There is a shot where we were totally befuddled. We were scratching our heads as to how the hell this was accomplished. I'm sure you know which one we're talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
There is a spinning shot in the car And we were watching it at home with our housemates, and he works in effects. He works in post, and he's sitting there like, I don't really understand how this was done. Our guess is the bottom half of the car was real for that, and the rest was comped in.
Because it's like the first shot when he gets locked inside this car, so it's a crucial shot. It's kind of establishing the space, and it's spinning around him, and you're realizing as it's spinning around him, wait a minute, where are the walls of this car? So yeah, if you could kind of shed some light on how that was done.
Let me start by saying we were really an indie movie. And when we were going to shoot that, my VFX supervisor came to me and he said, "We don't have money to fix this. Like, if you don't nail it, we can't paint in part of the car here or there. Like, it's not. You have to do this for real." And we're like, "Well, that's the plan. Let's hope we do it." So I knew you were going to say that, and I'll tell you this: I'm trying to get them to do it, sooner than later, but it might take a minute. But I knew this question was going to come up, so I stuck a GoPro on the camera.
Oh, thank you.
To show everyone how we did it. And by the way, James Gunn, who produced Brightburn, and I, he shows me his movies very early in the process to get notes, and I do the same to him. We kind of do that with each other. And when I showed him this movie, one of the things he said to me was, "How did you do that shot?" And I was like, "Wait," he was, I think, the first person I showed. And I was like, "Wait, you don't know how we did?" He's like, "Ew, I don't know how you did that shot." So I was like, "Okay, I think we're on to something with this shot." So when I met with the production designer, this is all leading up to the explanation, right? I met with the production designer. I said my ambition of shooting this differently than this genre is typically shot, and doing crazy shots and stuff like that. And he said, look, he was an art director on Gravity. And in Gravity, they shot, those sets that they were in, those little pods, they were very claustrophobic, and they built them on platforms in sections, and it would be all connected, but you could at any point slide a chunk of the section out of the way, and it was like on rails. So it's not like someone has to take it apart and disassemble it. It's just like literally like you slide it out and then you slide it right back in. And so we built the entire car in sections like that on rails, so that you could pull the whole thing apart and be completely spread out. And then we had teams of people moving section by section as the thing was going around, as the camera was going around, and replacing it very quickly so that you couldn't see how the effect was achieved. But we did it all real.
It's practical. That is so
damn
cool.
Like, we love that.
Yes,
that's amazing.
That's even more exciting than our theory. Holy crap.
Oh, that's cool. I'm so glad to hear that. But I'll say this. The cheat in it is that it was on a soundstage. So there are green screen for the background is replaced. Okay. But in terms of the mechanics of really doing it, it's all really done. Yeah.
That's funny too, because like we're so focused on how this camera's moving around this car, I'm not even paying attention to the background.
Yeah, you don't even see it.
Yeah.
You don't even see it.
What an interesting thing to think about. Like when I started working on movies, my first jobs were in art departments, and it's so interesting to think about how this movie, even though it's set in such a small space, in like one space essentially, you still have to have a production designer, an art director. What was that process like working with them? And was there kind of like a style you were sticking to? Because he's a very specific character, Bill Skarsgård, in this.
Yeah. Okay, so let me do two things. I want to answer that question. Before I do, I just want to highlight one more shot that I think you guys will geek out on that you probably didn't even notice. There's a shot when the car is going up the ramp in the parking garage.
Spinning the spiral.
And he's getting nauseous and spinning around. So again, wanted to do it all real because I'm a pain in the ass. So we had a stunt driver driving Bill, just throw Bill in the car and let the stunt driver go as hard as he can, as safe as possible, of course, but like go as hard as he can to make this as unpleasant for Bill and just force him to hold on for dear life. And then we stuck a camera on the outside of the car, and then on the other side of the glass, on the inside of the car, like this. They were two cameras, and did the move all real, and then we stitched them together so it's just one giant
I
panoramic
see.
plane.
Oh my gosh, yes. I know exactly what you're, so you can see both inside and outside.
Yes,
Yes.
so we could stitch it all together, and it would all be real. It would all be the real thing happening inside and outside. But yeah, it's yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
That's so cool.
So I thought you would dig that.
Yeah.
And then your question was about the working with the production designer or working with Bill.
Yes, yeah. Just coming up with, his look, and I guess, because a big part of production design is like the environmental storytelling, like what, things surrounding the character tell you about the character, about the story. How different of a process is that when it is like literally just one very confined location that is pretty static for the most part?
Yeah, like what was the interior of that car based on? Like what were your main? Because it's a fictional car, Dulles.
It's a fictional car. The original car, I don't even know if I could say this. I'm sure I could say it. We bought a Defender. I don't know if you know the car, the Defender.
No.
It's like a Range Rover.
Okay.
And then we sort of completely gutted and remodeled and twisted it around, we did a lot of work to it, exterior, interior. I mean, they built like an entire, like the majority of our budget went to this car because we were just going to live in it the entire time, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it needs to look. Yeah.
And so I hired the guy who built the Batmobile for Chris Nolan. That's what I'm saying. Like we literally like spent a lot of the lion's share of our money on this car and just getting this awesome car. So he built this thing that was a beast. Yeah, I mean, all the interiors custom, the exterior, most of it's custom, but it needed a drive, it needed to move around and stuff like that. So yeah, that environment was, it was a design process that's not dissimilar from other movies. But what was interesting about this movie is, I don't know, this might be less exciting to you or more exciting to you, but what's interesting to me about this movie is that, it really deals with it sort of discusses the morality of, people who have so much and people who have so little, and how they could live together in a community, how that could possibly exist without everyone killing everyone. And so there's an area in Vancouver, Gastown. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Vancouver at all, but it's this wild mixture because there's Hastings Street, which is almost like Skid Row, but in Vancouver, like the drug problem is crazy over there, and it's sad. And at the same time, that area is like, it is foodie central. There are some of the best restaurants in Vancouver are there. Some of the best, really expensive high-rise apartments and condos are there. And so it was the most extreme example of these two things living together in one incredibly small area. And so I wanted to set the movie there, or at least I wanted to shoot it there. And that parking lot that we're in is sort of like at the center, at the heart of all of that. You could walk to a really trendy bar, which is a few feet away, or you could walk down like one of the roughest streets you'd ever walk down, the other way. And so we were there, man. We were in it.
How many days did you shoot on location in that parking lot?
At the start of this, you mentioned that this is that the movies look bigger than they are often. This will give you a hint as to how small and indie this movie is. We shot this movie in 19 days.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is really tight.
Yeah.
I think it was 6 or 7 of those days in that parking lot.
Oh, okay.
And then this is how small of a movie we were. Then the DP took photos, like 360 photos like this, and then he printed the backdrop and we printed the backdrop on like step and repeat, like
oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
So we just printed the backdrop and set it up around the car. So for a lot of the shots, obviously some required green screen, like the one we talked about earlier, but for a lot of the shots, it's literally a printed backdrop. And what's ridiculous about it, I mean, you would never know, I'm a fan of like when Peter Jackson did that stuff with Lord of the Rings, like let's just do it all in camera.
Yeah, I mean, The Substance just did that with the LA skyline outside the apartment. That's a printed canvas. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that they did that, but that makes sense. And we did. Yeah, okay, so we did that. But what's ridiculous about that is that we that somehow this is the funniest thing. The boom, like we didn't communicate with the sound department to tell them we were doing this, and the boom was just leaning against a trash can. So the boom is just like in every photo. It was just in. It just
Oh,
lives.
It was in the picture that
It's
was
just in. It
printed
just
on the.
lives there. Yeah, yeah. So we would walk by and see the boom leaning. We're just like, this is amazing.
Oh my
So
god, that's
funny.
really, really funny.
If you're looking for it in the movie, could you spot it?
You know, the truth is that I haven't really looked for it because like I get pulled into the movie. I end up
Yeah.
watching the movie.
I never noticed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like the type of thing that like is made for IMDb trivia.
Exactly.
I feel
Yeah.
that's so perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the design of like the car specifically because Anthony Hopkins' character in this is such a specific kind of paranoid rich guy, and it makes so much sense that the car you chose for him is called the Defender.
Yeah, right?
Totally.
Is like I think of the type of stuff you would see on like TikTok, especially right after like all the protests in 2020, after like all the Black Lives Matter protests, where like you have rich people especially starting to get very paranoid about their possessions and belongings, and there's I feel like this uptick in like a demand for these big ass armored cars. That was part of the appeal of the Cybertruck too, is like these for it's just for paranoid people. I said like this guy's he's like every person on Nextdoor.
Yeah.
He's every person on Nextdoor. That's really funny.
It's so true.
Yeah, I mean, he is unhinged, right? And like, you know, when I met with him, the first breakfast we had together, you know, we both sort of agreed we didn't want him to be, you know, a Hannibal Lecter like character. You know, we wanted a new kind of evil, something that felt really modern, and like appropriate for this time period. And I love his Instagram. I don't know if you follow him on Instagram.
He has the best social media ever.
He has
James,
the
do
best
you
social
follow
media.
him?
I think you've showed me a few
He
things.
plays piano and he's got his
cats,
little
right?
cats
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, I love his social media. And so I said to him, I said, you know, I've never seen this side of you except for on Instagram. And so I really want to see that, you know, to you, I think this is, you know, you're so unpredictable and playful and fun in this. And I think that's a piece of who you are in this world. You know, you don't care anymore. You're unhinged.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to bring some of that quirky, like, I don't know, enigmatic, wild side sensibility to his character, and he wanted to do that too. And so so that's so much of the fun, you know, is sort of his gleeful enjoyment.
He's kind of an edgelord a little
Yeah,
bit.
I was about to say
Yeah.
he's, just talking about kind of using some of his internet persona. I feel like there's a little bit of just what someone who spends too much time on the internet in general, that kind of gets worked into the character where he's asking Bill Skarsgård, and I want to isolate this sound clip because it made me laugh so hard, where he asks him, "Oh, are you triggered? Do you want to cancel me?" I was like, "Oh, this is so good," and I'm obsessed with this. But just the idea of like, I don't know, you think of people our age often complain about like our parents spend too much time on Facebook and stuff, and we're losing the boomers to the internet kind of thing, and there's definitely shades of that in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because people can see this movie and see it as a political movie, but it's not a political movie. It's a morality play, really.
It's cultural, you know.
It's cultural,
yeah.
but like politics has just infected every aspect of our lives.
Yes.
So in order to be real, to tell a real story, you have to kind of place these characters on a political spectrum, and it was my job to be like, okay, well, that's not the story I'm trying to tell. I'm not trying to make a political movie. I want to tell. What I'm trying to do is, hey, there's this guy who is fed up and he wants to build a cage to catch a thief and make him pay for what he's done and take a lot of his frustrations in society out on this guy. And what would that be like? And just try to make it as real as possible.
Yeah, it's like a modern falling down almost. You know?
Yeah,
it's like the frustrations at what you think are the injustices of society, and how can you, as an individual, like start taking back the reins of justice and power.
Yeah, I think there are people who see the movie and see William's character as a very dark anti-hero in a way, like, you know, which is, I think there's a certain point in which he passes the point of no return and becomes, you know, very much villainous. But there is a portion of this movie where I think people understand where he's coming from, at the very least, you know?
Yeah, especially with the backstory that gets meted out throughout the film.
Yes, it reminded me of, I mean, I think he even name drops Death Wish, like a kind of Charles Bronson, like, you know, that's like a tale as old as time. And especially like, you know, decades where the economy is really terrible, you get these kind of stories. And so, yeah, of course.
And it's what makes them interesting, because, like, you know, when a movie is so black and white, it's like, even when you agree with that movie's particular point of view, it can still be like, all right, but you know, you're preaching to the choir. I already get it. It's so much more interesting when the characters have their own internal justification for what they're doing.
That's what always interests me. Like, honestly, I love, I mean, it's not a surprise that I made, you know, Brightburn is like also this anti-hero thing. I really love exploring the internal mechanisms that make people be evil, you know? Like, it's really interesting to me because it's not evil to them, you know? Like, I think Anthony Hopkins' character believes that the movie he's in is Death Wish, right? I think he thinks that he is completely justified in his rage to take down the system, and he acts accordingly, you know? And that makes for a very interesting collision between the two
literally.
of them.
I mean, on that note, I love that you don't shy away from a little bit of graphic gore in here. There's one shot in particular that had us all screaming. It's a very close-up nail trauma happening. I also saw a repeat of one of my favorite, probably my favorite kill in Brightburn with the dashboard face trauma. You get a little bit of that here with Bill's face just bouncing off that dashboard a few times. So yeah, I feel like the ultraviolence really helps. I don't know, give the movie stakes, because it's like, you know, it's a silly concept. A rich guy's locking a petty thief inside a car and making him do whatever he wants him to do. And I think it helps just ground these characters more when we see like the violence of crushing another criminal and Bill's reaction to that. I mean, the actors, like, can we ask how you got Bill and Anthony on board? Because, like, was this obviously post Pennywise, but was this pre Nosferatu, or?
I think he shot Nosferatu right before this movie, but he signed on before Nosferatu, I believe. He might have been in the middle of shooting Nosferatu when I met him, or just like right at the start of it. I'm not totally sure about that timeline. But, you know, Anthony Hopkins was first. It was like, and it really was birthed out of a conversation with Sam Raimi going, you know, it would be amazing, but I doubt he'll do it. But you know, it would be amazing is Anthony Hopkins. And we were like, well, we should send it to him and see, you know, you typically send a script to someone and then like you don't hear from them in a month and you're like, all right, we got to move on. It was a couple days. It was like a couple days. I got a call like, he wants to meet you. It was actually crazy because my wife had never been to New York. So we were like, let's go to New York for the first time. You know, let's see New York. We get on a plane, go to New York. I land. I turn on my phone and it's like, hey, Anthony Hopkins wants to have breakfast tomorrow. And I'm like, I just landed in New York. And they're like, I don't know. He wants to have breakfast tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So I booked a flight and flew home.
Wow.
Had breakfast with him and then flew back because my wife stayed. So I was just like, I'll just go. I'll be back tomorrow. And I did a nice round trip. Had breakfast with Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, certainly
worth it for sure. Yep.
You know, I'm a huge fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. The reason why that matters to this story is that we had this great meeting. I left going, I think he's doing the movie. And I sent him this email like, hey, I just wanted to say it was just, you know, it was a great meeting. It was, you know, your excitement for the movie. Like, it's so great. And he emailed me back immediately this sort of longer thing about how much he loves the script and how much he loved meeting me and the movie, and I'm like, oh my God. And so I'm on the plane now flying back with nothing to do because it's like my third plane trip. And and so I write him, I respond. And we like the entire flight there, we're like pen pals now. And I'm like imagining myself in Bram Stoker's Dracula, the way they would do those montage where like I'm fading in and you just see the writing, and we're writing these like long emails to each other. And, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, is this real? Is this real life? It felt all quite surreal. Once he signed on, I mean, especially in that last month before we started shooting, he would call me almost every night and we would talk through the character, and he was so passionate and excited about the movie. It was so cool to see. And then Bill is just the sweetest. He's so sweet. And he's just like he's sweet to the point that like maybe people shouldn't know how sweet he is because he plays these evil characters, and you want to keep a mystique, but he's like really sweet. I met him and I was like, I saw Eddie. I was like, there's a side of you I've never seen before that I think we can pull out. I was like, I think we can blow some minds with, I think this, you could really wear this character on your skin and it'll feel really natural. And so we we talked through it a bunch and man, I watched the movie now and I'm like, dude, you're such a movie star. You are such a movie star. Like he has everything. He's just so good. He's so good in the movie. It's one of my favorite performances of his that he's ever given. I admire him and I love him in this movie.
Yeah, they're both phenomenal. Great choices for those characters.
It's such a joy to see you talk about both of them and just how involved they were in this and how, kind and generous with their time, and
especially for like a smaller budget movie.
Yes.
A more contained film that like they've been in huge projects. So it's so cool to see that.
That really is special.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to step on. No, I was just gonna say like, either of these guys, they could have, shown up. They could have, just did their part and went home. But they were like, I said to Bill, like, we met in Zoom the first time we talked, and I was like, this is not going to be a fun movie. This is not going to be an easy movie. And I want to do a lot of things real, so it'll be physically taxing. Like, I'll give you an example. There's a scene in which he retches from something that's so disgusting. And
we all did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I never believe retching in movies, and it always looks a little fake to me. And so I asked him if it would be okay if I put I don't know how to say it, surströmming, which is that like Swedish fish, the rotten fish from TikTok that like is vile to smell. I was like, can I fill this bottle with that so that you're really retching? And he was game for it. So like, I really like try, there's all sorts of involuntary facial and muscle reflexes that happen when you're you feel, but that's why when you watch that scene, it's really sickening because
it's disgusting. I literally had to keep telling myself like it's not really pee, but it's not like it's much better knowing what it actually
it's worse
is.
Maybe it's worse maybe it's worse maybe. If I had to pick between drinking my own urine and drinking that, I honestly don't know what I would pick. As someone who smelled that bottle, I don't know what I would pick.
David, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to talk to us. The movie's great. It's fun.
It's so fun. It is exactly the type of just nice little, like, I don't know. I like I said, it's that mini genre that I love, and I'm so glad I have another one to add to my little mental kind of DVD shelf of those movies that I love.
Thank you so much, and I'm really excited to tell my sister that this happened.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to this podcast. Sorry, we did a bunch back to back, and so I was like, but like, oh my God, I'm so excited that we got to do this, and thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely, David. Great meeting you. I'm
so
sure we'll talk
again.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Take care, man.
Thanks a lot.